Women are often known for talking freely about our feelings, but men aren't always characterized by the same, which is why I'm so glad that my next guest wrote his book, INTIMANCY. Chris Steele, welcome to the Sami Cone Show.
Thank you so much, Sammy. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited just the title alone. So INTIMANCY, am I saying it right? Can I emphasize the man in there?
I don't think you can say it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
Understanding man's need for deeper connection. Can you just tell me, I feel like I don't need to say why do we need this, but you as a man, why did you feel the need to write this book in this time?
It's a great question, and the answer is, number one, it's a subject that almost ended my marriage. It's a topic that we struggled with, my wife and I, for about 26 years. And it's a subject that I've studied, I've grown very fond of, I've found fascinating because it's one that people don't like to talk about, especially men. And I think it's kind of alarming when we look to the future and realize that everything's kind of pulling us away from any type of intimate relationships.
Yeah, and you know, you've been a TV host, spokesperson for over 25 years. I mean, if ever in this social media culture things look good from the outside, I feel like you and Kelly have got it. I've known you for a long time. What was it that made you really feel like you need to speak out? Was this something inside of you? Was this your wife saying something, a combination thereof? Because a lot of men would just try to, I think, brush this aside for as long as possible.
No, to be honest, which I talk a lot about in the book, being transparent, being vulnerable, we were in the process of going through divorce, and we were very close to the end. That's when I wrote it, was during that time we were separated. And thank God, by His grace, that didn't happen. We're in a place that I never thought we would be. And so it was kind of a therapeutic thing for me. And I don't feel like I wrote it, to be honest. I feel like God wrote it. And so I'm just excited. I say at the beginning of the book, my goal is to start a conversation. And so far, talking to men's groups, the response has been pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled for you personally, but also that you're now, you know, being transparent enough to put it out there. You've been following God for a long time. You're obviously transparent about your faith, but what did you learn about what Jesus says about relating to others through the process of writing this book?
Yeah, I just looked at the way that Jesus related to people, and to me, He was intimate in every relationship. Obviously, with the disciples, they grew very close to each other, and but I use in the book as an example, He wasn't just intimate in His relationship with other men; He was with women as well. And I know that can throw some people off, but I reference the woman at the well and how that conversation was so intimate. And if the woman had not been open, if she had not been vulnerable, if she didn't want to be seen, she could have easily denied what Jesus was saying and said, that's not me, that's not my past or whatever. But she didn't. And as a result, she was healed, she was set free, her life was changed forever. And I think it's a beautiful example.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate that you talk about the need for both relationships, but you also speak specifically to why men need other men in their lives. Can you dig into that a little more deeply, and how do you find those men that are willing to be open and vulnerable?
Well, I won't say that's easy. I will only say that if it's a priority of prayer, God will answer that prayer. It's not something that comes natural. It's not something that's real easy. But I spoke at a men's group in Palm Beach a couple weeks ago, and I said, look around. I said, there's a lot of gray hair. There's guys, older guys. We're getting older. I said, these next generations, because of the lifestyle, technology, the way that we communicate, they don't necessarily value this stuff, and it's alarming. It really is, because you and I both know. We are on a battlefield as believers. The enemy is more prevalent than ever before, more evident, more blatant. And if we're not teamed up, both men and women, obviously this is a subject that's equally important for women, but men, it's a little bit more challenging. If you don't have guys around you that you can count on, you're not in a good place.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I've got to ask, just how is technology impacting our relationships, and what can we do about it?
Let me tell you something. I hate these things. I really do, and you'll laugh. I'm in the mountains right now, otherwise I would be lifting up my flip phone, because I went back to a flip phone and I just forward this one to it, because texting, all of it just drives me nuts. If you're in a relationship, chances are one of you maybe sees it more problematic than the other. I just think they're terrible, and we rely on them way too much. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that, you know, when you hear alarming things about young men turning to AI for relationships and just crazy things.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you for joining me. There's so much more we could talk about. I really encourage everyone to pick up a copy of Intimancy, A Man's Need for Deeper Connections. Both men and women are going to benefit from it. Thank you, Chris Steele, for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much, Sami.
Appreciate you.